Hello, everybody.
How are you feeling right now to be an NCAA champion?
It feels incredible. You know, obviously we were out here to get the team win, and hurts to not come away with it. But I'm over the moon to have accomplished something that I've been thinking about for a really long time. You know, I want to say I've been thinking about it forever, but coming out of high school, this is something I really didn't think was possible. And I just taken it step by step, you know, since freshman year, and kind of building on belief to getting here today. I know we came through the 3K in like my freshman year 3K PR on the track. So yeah, it's just really, it feels amazing seeing stuff like that just along the way to the national championship, to really feel the progression that I've made over these past 4 years.
Why do you think you've been able to improve so much?
2 words for Ricardo Santos. Also, you know, my teammates have really elevated me to another level. You know, I always think back to training with Cole Sprout and Thomas Boyden and Michael Verneau as well back in Park City. That really made, you know, helped me make the jump during COVID from freshman year to sophomore year, when I was able to start running, you know, at an All-American caliber. And then ever since then, every single other teammate I've had has just added so much to me, you know, either mentally or physically, or pushing me in a workout, helping me through a tough day. And yeah, if I wasn't on Stanford cross country, I wouldn't have been able to do this.
First individual title for Stanford.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that until they said it. I don't know why. Our program has such a storied history. I would have assumed someone had done it yet. So that's going to sink in later. But yeah, that's incredible.
What did you think race resemble in any way your U23 title, other than you finished first?
You know what? Surprisingly, I felt a lot better this race. The U23 run was a really sluggish race. I thought I was out of it when Dara made kind of a big move on me, and the guy that ended up third made a big move on me. So this race, it was a lot more controlled. You know, the NAU guys made it simple. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't really looking around, because the only 2 guys I was really with were just right in front of me. So you know, I feel like I've come a long way since that race. I've gotten a lot stronger, and part of that was not racing so much this past summer. I kind of made a conscientious decision to sort of shut my track season down at the end of last year and try and make as much improvement as possible, and it ended up being the right move. So yeah, I think that's helped a lot.
With those other 2 guys, I mean, did you pull ahead, or did they kind of fall back?
That's actually a great question. I want to say a little bit of both. I actually wanted to leave it till a little bit later, but I was coming around the first loop, and I noticed they looked really strong in the downhills, and I would kind of pass them a little bit on the uphills. And so I kind of kept that in my mind, just tried to stay connected through the second loop. And I kind of noticed it happening again when we were in the backstretch, and it didn't hurt that much. It didn't hurt that much at all. So I was thinking, you know, maybe I can kind of start to lay the hammer down, not do anything, you know, too egregious, and end up, you know, out of water with 2 of the fastest guys in the country behind me. So it was kind of more, I just noticed them sliding back. I kind of cranked up the intensity like a little bit just to sort of test them out. And when I ended up in front, I kind of had to just, you know, commit to it at that point, and it ended up working out. And I knew I wasn't going to be home clean, because every one of us was out there going for team points. And Nico Young put an absolutely amazing push at the end, because, you know, I knew it was hurting at that point. And so there I was just trying to get the job done, make sure I could keep him, you know, behind me down the home stretch and stay on top of my legs.
What was your strategy coming in, and how did what the NAU guys did affect that?
So it affected it by essentially throwing everything I thought was going to happen out the window immediately. You know, I was really looking at guys like Alex Meyer, who made me hurt earlier in the season, you know, on this exact course, someone who's drilled this course over and over and over again. But it made it, you know, exactly the race I would have hoped for, where, you know, I prefer to run strong, I prefer to run aggressive, and just kind of keep a really high intensity over the whole race. And so they kind of allowed me to just run that race I love to run, where we're just going for it. We're seeing who has more fitness, you know, who's done more miles and who wants it more. And I think all 3 of us wanted it equally, but I think I ended up, you know, just getting it on the day.
You ran like 40 seconds faster than Mance did when he won on this course a couple of years ago. Like,
That's
do you
insane.
think you could have like 28:43 on this course? Do you think that was possible coming in?
Oh, absolutely not. And I also thought that if you go out like that, there's no way you're finishing the second lap, because it's actually really funny. If you go back and look at my race back in 2021, this race was extremely similar, where I lodged myself in sort of an NAU diamond back in 2021, and I just got spat out the back after 5K because I went out way too hard, and was able to hold it through 14th because everyone was dying. But this race was very similar. NAU was running it, and I think, you know, they ended up, did they win in 2021? Yeah, so I think they knew that was sort of a tactic that would help them. And so, in the middle of the race, I was like, oh, I kind of know why they're doing this. It makes sense, and my legs feel good. But I think that I've come a long way since I was a freshman, and I don't think I'm going to get spat out the back of this pack. And I could stay connected. I didn't have to overextend myself, and ended up winning the race.
Why do you think this race went much faster than others in the past? Was it the weather, or?
I can't think that the weather would have contributed much, just because, I guess it was pretty hot in March. I know it was a little bit of a sweaty race. I think it's just such an exceptionally unique course that having guys run it before really helps you manage your sort of expectations and how you go out. Because I think we went out in like a 2:31 in 2021. I mean, it was like 4 flat pace because of Kip 2. And so I think a lot of guys just exploded and died back in 2021, myself absolutely included. But I really, I'm going to have to sit down and think about it, because I don't know how we ran that fast. It's really unbelievable. But I think it was just, it was team. It was every single guy was up there trying to win it for their team. And when you're trying to do that, amazing things happen.
You guys don't have any, and there are no other courses like this in the NCAA. Do you guys need to do anything like specifically to prepare for this kind of course? Like
a lot of hills, man. We ran a lot of hills. So we have this place out called Baylands. That's we run on top of this hill that goes up and down and up and down, and we slam fast miles. I know, at one point we had all our guys finishing up like a 6-5 mile workout in like the 420s on a mile repeat over the hills. So we were just getting stronger, running fast. A lot of us like to do our long runs pretty fast over a very up and down technical long run on this other side of this road called Kenyatta out in Palo Alto. But yeah, it's just Ricardo Santos preparing us extremely well, making sure we get a lot of volume in. And we had some things happen at the end of the season that made this race a little bit tougher, but I know every single one of us gave our best shot on the day.
You got beat at Nuttycombe. You got beat when this race was here back in September. Like, how did you time your peak perfectly that you were running your best race at the end of the season?
Yeah, have a good half of timing your peak is confidence. I want to shout out Ben Foltz, my good friend that I trained with a lot over summers. He told me that he saw the way I was running mileage, and he's like, guys are just going to kick your ass, when you start off the year. But you're going to get better. And, Coach Santos said the same thing. He's like, we'll get it when we need it. We'll get it when we need it. And so, over those races at the beginning of the season, I was running about 105 miles, during those race weeks, and just had to stay with the belief that when we start coming down, my legs are going to feel fresher. And then that's the second half, is just technically executing it. I didn't miss a mile since this past June. And I just had an extremely good base to build off of and to cut down off of. And then, in this postseason, I think you kind of saw it at Pac-12s, and maybe would have seen it at regionals. My legs just started feeling so much better. Just felt lighter. They weren't burning as much during the races. And I think that's just what good training feels like.
Did Drew being up there surprise you, and how familiar?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Drew being up there, it surprised me in a sense that we were running faster, than I felt comfortable with at the beginning. And I know Drew is an exceptional athlete, but he hasn't always been up there over the past year or so. If you look back to his freshman year, he was absolutely phenomenal, and he and I raced a lot in high school too. But on the other hand, it didn't surprise me, because I know that Drew's a really great guy. We met at Brooks, and he's always been super nice to me. And I know that he really cares about his team. And, I knew he was sort of sacrificing, what would probably be a lot of pain for him to put his team in the best position to win. And so I had a lot of respect for that when I was watching him race. I still thought it would come down to me and Nico, which it did. But I knew what he was trying to do, and I really, respected it.
It's pretty wild, because the team race came down to a point.
Yeah, who won it?
Well,
NAU
on
on
a
a
tiebreaker.
Oh my God,
So
that's crazy.
If Nico had finished, or I guess if another guy, they needed those spots.
Yeah,
they needed
no, I'm
2 or
glad
3.
they won, because otherwise, I'm sure he would hate me forever. Just kidding. Nico's super nice as well.
You said there was some things popped up for your team. Like Cole Sprout, was he healthy? Because it seemed like he had an off day today.
Yeah, obviously, I can't really get into, if it was me, I'd tell you, but I can't really get into, what other people are dealing with. But, something along those lines is just, we had pretty much a perfect season going up into the last couple of weeks, and it was just about, dealing with that adversity, and I think we dealt with it really well. But obviously, guys are going to be disappointed. But it's not over. Stanford XC is here to stay, and there'll be another year, and there'll be excellent guys running it, and I know Coach Santos has the team in great hands, so I'm not worried about it. We just got to rally from this, and I'm sure it's going to be okay.